Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Today is 381 day of the full-scale invasion that the Russian Federation launched on February the 24th last year in Ukraine. In 1 year of the full-scale military invasion of Ukraine, Russia continues its genocidal attempts to erase Ukrainian identity and to destroy Ukrainian infrastructure. Russia continues raining missiles and drones all over Ukraine, killing innocent Ukrainians, children, women and men, as well as destroying Ukrainian residential areas, schools, hospitals, energy centers. When Ukraine was liberating its territories, the entire world was shocked to see what Russia left behind. Mass graves of innocent Ukrainians, including children and women, as well as destructions of their homes. Russia is a terrorist state, and we ask the United States of America to declare Russia a terrorist state. Declare Russia a terrorist state.
Declare Russia a terrorist state.
Declare Russia a terrorist state.
Declare Russia a terrorist state.
Dear supporters of Ukraine, please write to the White House. Please contact your representatives and ask them to support Declare Russia a state sponsor of terrorism.
Declare Russia a state sponsor of terrorism.
Thanks to brave Ukrainian defenders and military assistance from the US and other Ukrainian allies. Thanks to brave defenders from other countries that joined Ukrainian legions and battalions to defend Ukraine from the Russia's military aggression. Nearly half of the territory seized by Russia was liberated since the start of the full-scale invasion on February the 24th last year. Thank you, USA, for supporting Ukraine.
Thank you, USA, for supporting Ukraine.
Thank you, USA, for standing with Ukraine.
Thank you, USA, for standing with Ukraine.
Thank you to brave heroes defending Ukraine.
Thank you to brave heroes defending Ukraine.
Thank you to Ukrainian defenders.
Thank you to Ukrainian defenders.
Thank you, all defenders of Ukraine.
Thank you, all defenders of Ukraine.
Glory to Ukraine.
Glory to Ukraine.
Glory to heroes.
Glory to heroes.
Russia plans on the war of attrition, despite of many defeats and growing Russia's losses in killed. More than 160,000 in almost 1 year of the full-scale Russia's invasion against Ukraine. We witness Kremlin's ongoing mobilization, as well as acquisitions of weapons and ammunition through increased domestic production and partnerships with authoritarian states such as Iran and North Korea. Russia is a terrorist state.
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 Declare Russia a terrorist state.
Declare Russia a terrorist state.
Declare Russia a state sponsor of terrorism.
Declare Russia a state sponsor of terrorism.
Having already lost strategically, the Russian occupiers still have enough resources to conduct tactical offensives. More than 300,000 of them are currently fighting against Ukraine. In order to be able to continue defending its territory and defeating the enemy, Ukraine needs timely military and technical assistance from our partners. We ask the United States of America and Ukraine's allies to continue providing needed military support for Ukraine. Delays in such support will only prolong the war and will increase casualties among civilians and military personnel. Send Ukraine the weapons it needs.
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 More weapons for Ukraine.
More weapons for Ukraine.
More weapons for Ukraine.
More weapons for Ukraine.
Fighter jets for Ukraine.
Fighter jets for Ukraine.
Long-range missiles for Ukraine.
Long-range missiles for Ukraine.
Intensive missile and drone attacks against Ukrainian civilians, critical infrastructure, and residential areas resulted in significant casualties and destruction. How many dead children will it take?
How many dead children will it take?
How many dead civilians will it take?
How many dead civilians will it take?
Air defense for Ukraine.
Air defense for Ukraine.
Air defense for Ukraine.
Air defense for Ukraine.
We ask the USA and Ukraine's European allies to impose more sanctions, more crippling sanctions on Russia, to stop all business ties with Russia, to weaken Russia's economy so that Russia would not be able to sponsor its military aggression in the world. More sanctions on Russia.
More sanctions on Russia.
More sanctions on Russia.
More sanctions on Russia.
Full trade embargo on Russia.
Full trade embargo on Russia.
Stop all business ties with Russia.
Stop all business ties with Russia.
Cut all the Russian banks from SWIFT.
Cut all Russian banks from SWIFT.
Russia's plans to launch large-scale offensive actions are failing, despite all heavy pressure on our forces. The front line has not changed much during the last month of the full-scale war, which Russia launched on February the 24th last year. 95% of Ukrainians believe in the victory in the war. Ukraine will win.
Ukraine will win.
Ukraine will win.
Ukraine will win.
Dear supporters of Ukraine, please write to the White House, please write to your representatives. Please ask them to continue providing needed military support for Ukraine in a timely manner so that Ukraine would be able to defeat the enemy. The war would be stopped sooner with less casualties among Ukrainians. And we are very thankful to all Ukraine's allies that have been supporting Ukraine all this tragic for Ukraine months. Thank you, USA, for supporting Ukraine.
Thank you, USA, for supporting Ukraine.
We are thankful to all the brave defenders who have been fighting against Russia's military aggression in Ukraine. We have the honor today to have the American defender, American soldier from the International Legion that is fighting in Ukraine against Russia's military aggression. Thank you so much, Carl, for fighting against Russia's invasion, for fighting for Ukraine's freedom, independence, and democracy. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the introduction. Yes, so my name is Carl Larson. I was a soldier in the International Legion last year. I was in Ukraine for 6 months. I was in the Legion for 4.5, and I was stationed at the front lines east of Kharkiv for 2.5 months. I'm here in Washington, D.C. I'm very pleased to be invited to join this daily demonstration with the US Ukrainian Activists group. I encourage anybody in the greater Washington, D.C. area to come down here. They've been meeting here in front of the White House north side every day for 381 days, which shows enormous dedication and it's very encouraging and heartening to see these people out here educating Americans and showing with their perseverance that Ukraine's situation is not forgotten by those of us across the world. A little bit about myself. As mentioned, I am an American. I'm not Ukrainian. I don't speak Ukrainian or Russian, unfortunately. I've learned a few words, but I'm not Ukrainian. But I like to think that after 6 months in the country, my heart beats blue and yellow. I feel very privileged to have had the honor to have served in this uniform for the Ukrainian people last year. I felt, so why did I go to Ukraine? Why did I leave my nice, comfortable life? I'm not Ukrainian. I had never planned to travel through Ukraine. I've heard good things about it, but I wasn't at the top of my list. But when this horrible situation happened, February 24th, I looked at my life. I'm a US Army veteran. I have experience in combat in Iraq. And I thought, well, what can I do that would be most effective? I can send money, I can volunteer as a civilian, or I can go help out in a more kinetic way at the front lines. And so I did a lot of research to determine if the International Legion was an effective fighting force, and if this was something that I would be properly utilized at, or if I would just be cannon fodder, or if I would just be sitting in a desk somewhere. And I saw that it was a good organization, had good leadership and good men in it, and I decided that I would go and join. So I traveled to Ukraine. I crossed the border March 8th last year, and worked as a recruiter, and then I joined the actual Legion, and then was stationed east of Kharkiv along the Severodonetsk River. So that's my background. What I'd like to talk about today is why this conflict in Ukraine should matter to Americans. This is a particular passion of mine, is talking to Americans who, like me, before last year had zero connection to Ukraine. It's unfortunate a lot of Americans don't even know where Ukraine is on the map. I think more now, but a lot of them wonder, okay, we've sent $100 billion, and it's in the news all the time. Why does it matter to me? And this is a question that I get regularly, and I am very fond of answering. And so I'll tell you that, as was just discussed, the reason this matters to Americans is because this is our fight. We just may not know it yet. And the Ukrainians are over there fighting with tanks and bombs and guns and shedding their blood. They're fighting with their blood. We're over here fighting the same fight, but with our votes and our voices and our wallets. And honestly, I'd rather pay money than my blood. So honestly, Americans are getting the better end of the deal. This is an investment in freedom and democracy. And if you look at Russia's actions over the last 10 years, more than 10 years, going back to the 2008 war in Georgia, and then even before that, in Chechnya, them attacking Ukraine is just the latest, most obvious example of Russian aggression. They attacked us. They attacked our 2016 election. That was an attack. And whatever your politics are, maybe you appreciate that attack because you think that it helped your candidate. You know what? Next time it could be for a candidate that you don't support. And we should be against foreign interference in our election, no matter which side, right? And you look at the government of Hungary, you look at the actions of Russia to support far left and far right politicians and movements all around the world. Hungary is a perfect example. The ties between the Hungarian government and the Russian government are very clear. It's an example of Vladimir Putin disrupting the NATO alliance and disrupting EU by supporting a far-right government in Hungary. He's doing the same thing all across Europe, and he's doing it in Africa and Latin America and here in America. If we don't wake up and realize that the Ukrainians are on the front lines of democracy and it's our fight, if we don't wake up and support the Ukrainians in their hour of need, then we will be on the wrong side of history, and we will end up having that fight here, but not with our votes and money. It'll be with tanks and bombs and guns here. So that's what I wanted to say about why I support Ukraine and why I went and put my personal life on the line to help support their democracy. I feel that this was the most important thing I did with my life, and it's a privilege and an honor and a duty to be out here working with people, like-minded people, and supporting Ukraine until the victory. So I'll finish with Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава!
Thank you.
Слава Україні! Слава Україні! Today is 381st day of the full-scale invasion that the Russian Federation launched on February the 24th last year against Ukraine.
We're with you.
Thank you so much.
Iran, from Iran.
Thank you. Thank you.
And down with Russia, and down with Putin. Yes. Viva! Glory to Ukraine.
Glory to Ukraine!
Glory to Ukraine.
Слава Україні! Слава Україні! Слава Україні!
Freedom for Iran.
Freedom for Iran!
Freedom for Iran.
We are thankful to all the supporters of Ukraine. Thank you so much for supporting Ukraine at this tragic time. We are thankful to the United States of America, and we are thankful to the Ukrainian allies for their military assistance during all the months. And as you know, in order to end this war sooner, Ukraine needs further military assistance. Dear supporters of Ukraine, please write to the White House, please write to your representatives and ask them to continue providing needed weapons for Ukraine. Please remind them about the Budapest Memorandum, and please remind them that Ukraine is fighting for the whole world. Ukraine is fighting for the peace and democracy in the whole world. And also ask them about imposing more crippling sanctions on Russia. We are US Ukrainian Activists. We are here at the White House every day since February the 24th last year to bring the awareness about the situation, about the war in Ukraine. Please visit our Facebook page, US Ukrainian Activists, to see the schedule of our rallies and other events in support of Ukraine. This week, we are at the White House from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Please check the schedule of our next weeks since next Thursday. Thank you very much for supporting Ukraine.
Наші вороженьки, як
Героям слава!
Слава Україні!
Героям слава!